What's up, y'all? I'm pretty sure I can start making videos in the 2021 upcoming season now because most of the big free agents have signed. There's still like Realmuto, Ozuna, and some pitchers still available, but for the most part, we know what teams' outlook and what teams will look like this season, which is super exciting. So I think I'm gonna get into ranking some teams, standings predictions throughout this offseason now. I think I'm gonna start now at the top 10 teams going into the 2021 season. There's some really good teams in that like 10 to 20 range who would be honorable mentions. Sorry if your favorite team doesn't make this list. It's just my personal opinion. You don't gotta take it too seriously. These are ranked 10 through 1. I'm sure a lot of people know who number 1 will be, but you have to watch the end to figure it out. So, coming in at number 10, we have the Washington Nationals, the 2019 World Series champions. This team had a bit of a hangover year in 2020, but they have Juan Soto, and he is going to be the best hitter in baseball this year. You also have Trey Turner, who had his big breakout year in 2020 and was almost underrated. He didn't make an All-MLB first or second team, which was kind of crazy, even though he arguably could have been on the first team. So now you have Turner and Soto, and they're trying to get a little bit more protection behind Soto because he was intentionally walked so much. So they're trying to put guys like Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber behind him, which may or may not work, but it's also more Soto is protection for Turner. Soto kind of got cheated out of the 2020 season with some false positives, but that's fine. The Nationals didn't play very well. Now, the Nationals also still have the pitching that really helped them win their World Series. Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin are still there, and they brought in the best closer in 2020 in Brad Hand, probably the second best closer in the league. So this national team is very good. Sucks that they play in such a tough division with the NL East, where you got the Braves, Mets, Phillies, Marlins, as well as them. It'll be a tough race for a wild card for these guys, but I have them as a top 10 team who might not even make the playoffs this year, which is kind of crazy. Goes to show how highly stacked the National League is. Going into number 9 is actually the Minnesota Twins. I like their moves they've done the past couple days. They brought in Andrelton Simmons. They just re-signed Nelson Cruz, but they lost Eddie Rosario. Now this lineup still absolutely hits, and Nelson Cruz is a big part of it, and he will stay and play DH and just hit 35, 40 home runs a year. The pitching is still something a little bit left to be desired. You have Maeda and Barrios, and you guys are going to lose Odorizzi in the offseason. And then as far as the bullpen, it's not great. It's like Taylor, Rogers, Romo. So it's not an amazingly well-rounded pitching thing, but the bats are still there. And even though they play in a division where the White Sox are probably the favorite, I still have them at second. And they're going to be battling the Rays and the Blue Jays, or maybe the Yankees, who knows, in that AL East for the wild card. That leads me into number 7, the Tampa Bay Rays, who represented the American League last year in the World Series. Unfortunately, they were a little outclassed by the Dodgers, and unfortunately they lost Blake Snell and Charlie Morton this offseason for players who aren't really going to come in this year and be impact players. Maybe in the future. We'll also see if Wander Franco plays for them. That might be a big boost in their lineup that seems a little stagnant, and they really relied on pitching. Now, the pitching is still there. The bullpen is still there. They lost Jose Alvarado. It's okay. But unfortunately, the starting pitching is why I don't have them winning the AL East again, and I have them as the 7th best team in the league because the pitching has Glass now as their ace, and even though he might have some highlight stuff, he's really not that solid of a pitcher, so it's hard to rely on him for full season. We will see what Wander Franco can do, and we'll see what this lineup can do throughout the full year. I have them as a wild card team right now, and the Rays might be able to do it in the playoffs. I think they're more built for the playoffs this year. That will lead me into number 6, the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays would not be here without the offseason they had this year. Bringing in Springer, Semien, and Yates are massive moves. I'm putting that 6 over the Rays because I'm pretty sure they're going to bring in some pitching this year. That would seem like kind of a weird offseason to address all their needs except for starting pitching. So if you have Ryu, Pearson, and then like Rourke and Stripling and like Steven Matz, it's not good. They probably fall out of this top 10. I'm pretty confident they'll re-sign Walker, or they'll go out and get some other starting pitchers. Not Tanaka, Odorizzi and Paxton are on the market. But the Blue Jays, even if they don't get them, this offense is a lot stronger than the Rays, so that's why they have them at 6. Coming in at number 5, I have the New York Yankees. So you see 5, 6, and 7. That's how I have them slotting in the AL East. So the Yankees, I have them winning the AL East as long as they can stay healthy. This team would be the second best team in the league probably if they could stay healthy, but they just can't. Judge, Stanton, they can't stay healthy. But besides that, they got they got LeMahieu back. Gleyber Torres still bangs. The pitching is going to be very much questionable. You got Cole and the question marks, as they're calling it, because you got guys like Kluber who've been injured, Taillon who's been injured, David Garcia is young, Luis Severino's coming back. The bullpen is still pretty solid. Britton, Chapman, Chad Green. They lost Ottavino. That's all right. Pretty sure they still have Tommy Kahnle there. Oh no, Tommy Kahnle went to the Dodgers. Sorry. This Yankees team is at number 5, but they're not the best team in the American League. Because coming in at number 5, you have the Chicago White Sox, who are going to take a big jump this year with all their young bats. You got Tim Anderson, who gets on base, Johan Moncada, Eloy Jimenez, Jose Abreu, Yasmani Grandal is great. They got rid of James McCann because they had 2 starter, almost all-star level catchers, which is kind of crazy. And the pitching is a big jump. Giolito is a stud. Lance Lynn is great. Keuchel is going to get that 2.5 ERA. We'll see what Michael Kopech brings. They addressed their bullpen, which is Liam Hendricks and a whole bunch of young guys who still need to prove themselves. This White Sox team is the team I have coming out of the American League this year, which is kind of interesting because they seem a little unexperienced, and it's not that different of a team that they lost in the playoffs in the first round last year, but I have faith in the White Sox. I think this is the year they're going to be a jump, and they're going to be good for a while. That'll now bring me to my number 4 team, the New York Mets. Now, the New York Mets made a lot of big moves this year. McCann, Lindor are some big ones, and this lineup looks really good with guys like Lindor, Conforto, Jeff McNeil. We'll see what Pete Alonso can have in 2021, and obviously the pitching. The pitching is centered around Jacob deGrom, who is the 2-time Cy Young winner. This team is very dangerous. Now, I'm not putting them ahead of I'm not putting them in the top 3 just because they are the Mets, and sometimes they can be like the New York Knicks, and things can go really bad because they had a really good team last year, and they did not perform whatsoever. They just kind of fell off the map. Same with the Nationals and the Phillies, which we'll see what happens with the NL East this year. So I'm putting the Mets at 4 right now as a little bit of like a bumper because they can Mets it up, unfortunately. And number 3, I have the San Diego Padres, who are also one of the more active teams in the offseason this year. Bringing in Blake Snell is massive. Bringing in Yu Darvish is massive. The lineup that is Tatis and Machado centered around with some other good pieces like Cronenworth, Pham, Hosmer, Grisham. This team is really, really good, and I'm super excited to see who wins the division between them and the Dodgers. I'm sure you guys know a lot about the Padres. There's a lot of hype about them this year. That's why they are coming in at the number 3 spot. They have pitching. The bullpen is okay. Losing Kirby Yates, I'm sure it's probably not great for them. The lineup is stacked. Super excited for this Padres team this year. The Atlanta Braves. I see a lot of people switching Braves, Padres, Mets around, and that's fine. But I have the Braves at number 2 because this lineup, if they can bring back Ozuna, is still amazing. If you have Acuna, Ozzie, Freddie, Ozuna, and then Travis d'Arnaud, and guys like Swanson, we'll see what Pache can bring this year. I really like this lineup. The bullpen is okay. There's some question marks there. Will Smith is still a good arm, but the starting pitching is what I really like. Charlie Morton is a great person to add because their pitching was talented but young. You had guys like Max Fried, Mike Soroka, Ian Anderson, all guys who had really good. Soroka had a really good 2019, and then Fried and Anderson had breakout 2020s. And then you also have guys like Bryce Wilson, who pitched well in the playoffs, Kyle Wright, and then they add Charlie Morton in at like maybe that 3-4 spot. So super excited for this Braves team this year. They got the pitching, they got the lineup. Hopefully they make some more moves for the bullpen. And of course, at number 1 is the 2020 World Series champion, Los Angeles Dodgers. They still haven't brought back Justin Turner, which is kind of weird. I don't think it really matters if they lose Justin Turner for some wild reason. They'll go get Chris Bryant because this lineup is stacked. Seager, Bellinger, Betts. That's kind of crazy. And then the pitching, you got Kershaw, Buehler. We'll see what Dustin May has. I'm sure if they can get the most out of Dustin May and Julio Urias, that pitching is disgusting on the Dodgers. Tommy Kahnle is a nice bullpen find. We'll see what Kenley Jansen does. They might actually, I'm sure they want Urias in the starting lineup. Sorry, Urias as a starter, but they could turn him into a lockdown closer like he did in the playoffs because there seems to be like their one weakness, but it's probably still an above average bullpen. This lineup is crazy. I'm gonna struggle to see anyone knock them off coming out of the American League. So it would really be if the Mets, Padres, or Braves can knock them out before they get to the World Series. If you guys enjoyed the video, that was my top 10 teams. I think it was pretty sure it was a little bit of a longer video than I've been doing the past couple weeks or months or whatever. But if you guys got here, that means you really enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'm out. Peace.